Okay, so I think we ended off with number 37 last time. Eh, 4 steps required. Right, 4 steps required. Oh, yeah, that's where the name is. Let's see. 4 steps necessary. So necessary someone. 4 steps are needed to configure a voice VLAN. What are those 4 steps? This one I'll be going a bit quick because I think the first session I had a lot of explaining, and I think it will be sort of repetitive. But probably ndo mbomira pichana. But for this one, to configure a voice VLAN, A, do we need a trunk? No. Do we need a trunk? No. We don't need a trunk. Assign the voice VLAN to the switch port. Yes. Activate STP. Probably not. Ensure that voice traffic is trusted. Yes. We need how many? 4 answers. Add the voice VLAN. Yes. Configure the switch port. No sub interfaces. Data VLAN. No. Configure the switch port in access mode. This one. That's the 4 of the things we need to configure a voice VLAN. Let me just check with my commands edu. I think we might need to refresh, remind ourselves. Let me just check to configure voice VLAN. What exactly do we need? I'm also taking this time Google Kuma configuration, so you know how to use my commands and Gapaya. Right, my VLANs, voice VLAN, there is some up. Right, so we definitely need to have access mode. I think that's one of the answers we had. We needed to add the voice VLAN. This is how we add the voice VLAN. This is how we enter the access mode. And this is how we assign the port to the voice VLAN. This is how we set the trust settings. And basically that's it. I think those were the 4 things that were being asked. Right, 38 referred to exhibit. PC1 is unable to communicate with server 1. So communication here is between this and this. The network administrator issues a show IP, show interface is trunk. To begin the troubleshooting, what conclusion can be made? This now some answers. Debate on answer. What conclusion can be made from this? What's the problem? I hope you don't have the one in them answers. I just want an answer from looking at this show interface configuration. What's the problem? DLS1 show interfaces interface to trunk 1. I'll wait. The symbol fungo also, but I think I've got the answer. Tibetans, what's the problem there? Muribai. Hello. Yeah, and they don't. There is no communication between PC1 and server. There's a show interface trunk here. I think that's where the clue is to where the problem is. What's the problem? What I can see from this end is rekanibvunza nchiti port iri rinofanira kunge riri access ro trunk. and this port rinofanira kunge riri access or trunk. This, let's say this link.
Yeah, malingi sari tuwa, I think malingi sari tuwa amfanongari ma trunk.
Right, those two links are supposed to be my trunks, right? Then show interfaces trunk of this device. What should it be showing? It should be showing two links up, two ports here, port here, and this port. It should be showing those two ports kuti ese arimu trunk. And here we only have 01 and ripa trunk. So that's the problem I think so. Is it making sense? Ndikadzoka pana ndikadzoka panapa answer iri close ndeipi. This one. Interface Giga Ethernet 02 has not been configured as a trunk. Interface here. I don't know if it was a trunk. Because direct as a trunk, there will show up interface is trunk. So our answer is A for that one. Number 39, refer to the exhibit. Get verified my answer to one. What is the cause of the error that is displayed in the configuration of inter-VLAN routing on Cisco VLAN? Chimbofunga itinso. Just a minute.
Alright. Ndiri kuona kuti iyo interface sub interface G0/020 haina kuencapsulatewa nenhingirikini. Hapana kuitwa encapsulation .1Q.
Sorry senansa ndasvika kumba ndasvika manje. Ndakwanisa kutaura.
I don't know, say mange vandinzwa. Pandataura kuti that sub interface .20 iyo haina kuitwa encapsulation ne.1Q ningirikini.
Right, ndandototaura, but I didn't realize that I had muted. Right, ndazvinzwa, and I think that's where the problem is. But the next question engandobvunza ndeyekuti encapsulation.1Q command nderei. So I can say command iri. This one is to create a sub interface. What of the next one? Encapsulation.1Q, what is it for? What's your understanding of that command? What does it do? You should know. Right. So I think the response here up and let us see encapsulation. This one. Our answer is D. Encapsulation.1Q20 command has not been configured. And what's the use of that command? That command is used to associate an interface with the VLAN. So what you are doing on a router, on a interface, on a switch, or with the interface, with the inter-VLAN routing. Port iri, Giga Ethernet 00. Kuti ukwanise kuita inter-VLAN, it means you need to create two gateways here at this point up. Two gateways are not create. Regarding what multiple gateways, you need to create multiple gateways depending on my VLANs ako mangani kuno. So can I do a VLAN 10 and 20 in this example? It means I'll need to create two gateways. Two gateways, I create them by creating my sub interfaces I create sub-interface 00.10. I also create sub-interface 00.20. Manamba aya ndaigona kuisa 5 na 10 zvaingoshanda, but for I think it's just something chiri clean kuti sub-interface raunocreata should associate ne-VLAN number, VLAN ID ye-VLAN yacho. So ndikauya ndikaisa 5 apo inogona kutoshanda, but it will be very confusing patroubleshooting kuti sub-interface rawanema kuti 5 riri kushanda ne-VLAN 10. That said, create a sub-interface rako, then the next thing you need to associate that sub-interface to your VLAN. How does this interface know kuti riri associated ne-VLAN 10? It knows by this command here, encapsulation.1q10. So ndikauya pa-sub-interface iri rina 10 iri, ndikaenda ndikati encapsulation.1q20, it means this interface rina.10 is now associated to VLAN 20. It's a bit confusing, but I hope you get the point of encapsulation.1q. Right, refer to exhibit number 40. These questions are a bit more interesting. Admin has configured router with the above commands to provide inter-VLAN routing. What command will be required on the switch connected to the 00 interface on the router to allow inter-VLAN routing? So what command will be required on a switch, command on switch connected to 00 to allow inter-VLAN? Right, and it one. I also with some answer. Which down. Right, and it one. What command? I think I can zoom in. I hope I'm going. What command will be required on a switch that is connected to the G00 interface on the router so that we have inter-VLAN routing? Yeah, I can see command retrunking here now. So scenario-wise, we have, I think we have a router, then we have a switch. Then this router area, commands are up. You can see my sub-interfaces are created. When you're asked what command is required, Pana, I think the only command is really straightforward about create a trunk. Because once we have inter-VLAN routing, this link will need to be a trunk. And I think our answer becomes C. You write to a trunk here. Yes. Any queries up? Number 40. Later on. Number 41. A high school uses VLAN 15 for the lab, VLAN 30 for faculty. What is required to enable communication between these two VLANs while using the router on a stick? A multi-layer switch? No. A router with at least 2 LAN interfaces? No, this one is legacy. 2 groups of switches are needed, each with ports that are configured for 1 VLAN. The answer to the switch with a port that is configured as a trunk is needed when connecting to a router. This one sounds more like an answer. Today is a dear.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, D sounds more like an answer. This one definitely a no, because you only require 1 interface. For router on a stick, you only require 1 interface. Legacy routing, that's when you require multiple interfaces. All right, 42. When routing a large number of VLANs, what are two advantages of using router on a stick VLAN routing method rather than multi-layer switch inter-VLAN method? So this is router on a stick versus multi-layer switch. What are the advantages? No, what are the disadvantages of router on a stick? Multiple SVIs are needed.
No.
No, that one is for a router on a stick doesn't need that. A dedicated router is required.
Yes.
This is a disadvantage. Why is it a disadvantage? Why?
Because maruta anodhura. Because maruta anodhura kutenga maruta.
Layer 3 switch is not durable for router at all, probably. So I don't think that will be the reason. Why do you think having a dedicated router is a disadvantage? A disadvantage. I think dedicated is a key word there. So basically, if you look at having a router and a layer 3 switch, the guys are router pa network yangu, it means this router is rededicated to this inter-VLAN routing and only that. But in the guys are switch up since it wants to create multiple switch virtual interfaces. It means my post is considered functional for other things. So my links, they are not only dedicated for inter-VLAN routing. Is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
Voila. Then C, router on a stick requires sub interfaces to be configured on the same subnets. It requires sub interfaces. They are not on the same subnet, so this one doesn't make sense. My sub interfaces, they are not on the same subnet. Router on a stick requires multiple physical interfaces. No, as well. Router on a stick requires only one interface. So that's another odd one out. Multiple sub interfaces may impact the traffic flow speed. Explain E as well. How does having multiple sub interfaces impacting traffic flow?
I think since on the traffic here, my VLANs would just be going through one physical interface.
Exactly.
The throughput might become.
Exactly.
Oh.
If you sending it go through that one physical interface, for the same reasons that our dedicated router is the same reasons ziripo panyaya traffic flow. Having one interface dedicated only for inter-VLAN, that's a problem. To switch go multi-layer, it creates multiple virtual interfaces, meaning different links adjacent score for inter-VLAN routing, and basically less problems in traffic go. Right, 43, refer to the exhibits. A network administrator is verifying the config of inter-VLAN. User complains that PCs on different VLANs cannot communicate. Based on the output, what are the configuration errors on switch interface gig 11? On switch interface gig 11. Right, panapa problem up. Between VLAN 10 and 20, apana communication. Inter-VLAN routing the for a start. What's the name of that?
Legacy.
Legacy, voila. Right, so problem is power. Just not one of my answer. Show interfaces, they switch, okay. Enabled trunk.
I think the access model.
Probably.
Ngipa access mode yepa Giga Ethernet 1/1 access mode VLAN default.
Yeah, it looks like the interface. Interface is associated with VLAN yacho.
Irifana ngerichi access mode iri
Irifana
default.
VLAN 20.
Ngerichi
VLAN
Access.
20.
VLAN
Irifana VLAN 20.
arisitirangere.
Sorry, say scroll life futhi kumsoro to any question.
All right. Basically, question is there is no communication between my VLANs. What are two errors on switch interface Giga Ethernet 1.1? So there is a problem in Giga Ethernet 1.1. Basically, that's what the question is saying. So there is no communication between VLAN 10 and 20, and the problem is on interface Giga Ethernet 1.1. And show command it will show, I think, a summary of Giga Ethernet 1.1. So we have to identify the problem from that show command.
Apa negotiating. Trying to negotiating mode.
Really?
That trunking. But the mode is supposed to be a different one. It's still on.
Negotiation.
Is
All
it
right. Negotiation of trunking on. Yeah, and Susie, irufana yakaita sei. Makaita ma configurations legacy here. Mukaita ma configurations legacy. Right. Regarding explanation, so kuruta on a stick. Kuruta on a stick, we have something like this. And we are using one physical interface for communication between multiple VLANs. What is a trunk? Sadena, what is a trunk? Simple question. It's not a trick question. What is a trunk? Access. Access. Kana module access. What does that mean? Kana module trunk. What does that mean?
Okay, access is to a single VLAN.
Single VLAN called trunk.
Trunk, Torah like multiple VLANs or
Right.
ASA and take the traffic.
Stop there. Multiple VLANs. Access means a link redo ring one VLAN. Trunk means multiple. The reason why it got legacy, my pose I don't configure link in ring trunk here. The reason for that is kana ndikata VLAN 10 net 20 kunoko. VLAN 10 and net 20 will go through this link per inter VLAN. That's why I read trunk. But is it the same panel? Link iri richafamba ma VLAN mangani? No. 2 how?
Oh, one. Sorry, one.
Richafamba ne 1 exactly. Richafamba ne 1. I link richafamba ne VLAN 10 chete. Iri link richafamba ne VLAN 20 chete. Meaning kana ndiro send a traffic from VLAN 10 to 20. VLAN traffic inopfuura apo yopinda kurouter uko. Then router roendesa kune imwe interface. Is it making sense? So it's different.
Yes.
It's different from router on a stick. Router on a stick, we need my trunk because that same physical link travels among multiple VLANs. But here is not the case. So if this is not the case, it means my configurations my VLANs are against my trunk. Yes, I got my trunk. I'm wrong. This port should not be. You get what I'm saying? This port should not be in trunking mode.
Yeah, I get it now.
You get it? Yeah. That said, I think that's the huge difference between legacy router on a stick.
Yeah.
Legacy uses
Ma
what?
refer to exhibit.
Yeah?
Address ma refer to exhibit pane basi.
Hey, Zamaru kuya manje andimata mthulu. Right, so ma-answer edu, this one, question mark, hapana basa ne-voice up. This one is the correct answer. That's an error. Giga Ethernet 1.1 should not be configured in trunking mode. Negotiation trunking is turned on. Negotiation trunking should not be on because to port access. Then the trunking encapsulation protocol is configured wrong. Kunoko hakuna encapsulation protocol unodiwa kuno. Encapsulation protocol unodiwa kurouter uko. So my answer edu by elimination, I think this one I'm so sure. This one, Giga Ethernet is in default VLAN. I think since that Rufa no access. Access then means this port is associated with VLAN 20 instead of the default VLAN. And then got access, then it should be associated with VLAN 20. Right. Refer to exhibit. Verenga make 101. Pay answer. Yeah, don't pay a gomira.
And refer to the exhibit. A network administrator is verifying the configuration of inter-VLAN route, and users complain that PC2 cannot communicate with PC1 based on the output. What is the possible cause of the problem? So tine interface EO 0/0 0/0.5.IQ5.
Right. If
Up.
PC1 and PC2 are not
Encapsulation.
communicating, it means problem, they're inter-VLAN. Don't
Yes.
problem. And the Pama show
Iro
command.
command
Ribi.
iro rakanzi encapsulation.1Q5 iro.
Yeah. Right, I say.
Really incorrect. It's supposed to be it's actually supposed to be interface Giga Ethernet 0/0.10 and then command router encapsulation.1Q10.
It's not supposed to be like that. Now, I want to explain. You are right. Answer you correct, but apa pando pane problem. Right. Learn to understand exactly right. Panap it's not supposed to be .10. Ndataura kuti apo kapo ndokwana kuisa .5 apo. Panapo ndoendesa .10. Ndikaisa .10 panapo, what it means is interface rina .5 is associated to VLAN 10.
All right.
Yeah. Saka this part ira inabasa ndekuconfusana chete. So panapa vatoisa I think 5 will deliberately kuti vakutesa kuti ruzive. So answer yako panapa panofana pana VLAN 10 apo. Because panapa tine VLAN 10. So interface iri rinofanira kunge riri associated ne VLAN 10. So pari wrong chete ndepanapa. Panapa patori correct pana .5. But it's no paka confusion chete. So
exhibit baba levaikwanisa ngomubvisawo exhibit.
yeah.
Wose saka all right.
Interface. I'm sorry.
Right. Let's go back. Very good. For this exhibit kunoko tine VLAN 10. Kunoko tine VLAN 20. Ideally ndiri network admin kana ndikuisa setup yangu parouter panapa. Commands ma sub interface ndino-create sub interface.10 ndori associate ne VLAN 10. Ndo-create .20 ndori associate ne VLAN 20. Apa paku-associate apa the command reku-associate ndochi encapsulation. What. Right. This is me ideally. But you can see it apa ndokwanisa madota ndinoda apa. Ndokwanisa madot ndokwanisa .100. But kunoku uka-associate ne VLAN isiriyo zvese zvinodhaka. So kunoku ndokuri important kunoku. Is it making sense?
Yeah. Ndabona pambane confusion.
Okay,
ngaripo. Waibata here Lloyd?
Yes, pajeka apa topandotara kuti maexhibit pativhiringa pa.5 apo ka.5 ako kaiswa ako mawana.
Saka let's just say sub interface arina basa. Sub interface is not a problem, but association pana encapsulation apo ndo paunofanira kutarise papa kuti interface iri kuassociate pane VLAN ripi, because this is more than, this is just a name. This is just a name, arina basa. But it's important to know kuti interface iroro raasociatwa neVLAN ipi. Zvikangopotsana ipapo ndo panodambira zvinhu. So answer yedu panapa A, no, B, no. Right. Uri kuona BE unogona kuitora seanswer kana usiri kuziva. The command interface gig ethernet 00.5 was entered incorrectly. Unogona kuda kuya correct oti inofanira kuendwa .10, but ndo answer iyoyo. I'm asking, haisiriyo, uri kuiona?
Aiwa, I think
Haisiriyo.
answer E.
Answer is E. The encapsulation.1q5 command contains the wrong VLAN. The right VLAN should be VLAN 10. Saka maanswer ese evanhu vane confusion vari kuziva vanenge aripo, vanoziva kuti confusion dziripo. Someone had to choose answer E.
Yeah, that I told you choose that.
Right, and they right. Refer to the exhibit. Network admin has configured Cisco VIL router with the above commands to provide inter-VLAN routing. What type of port will be required on a switch that is connected to 00 router? 1, trunking. What type of port will be required on a switch? So to a router, to a switch, a router on a stick. Configuration is really come up a port is. It's obvious, it trunk. I don't see anything else to do wrong up. .10, .10, .20, .20. And the my answers. Answer is C. And the 46. Another exhibit. Yes, I think I'm exhibit there. In the door. Regarding what I see and the guy say, Papa, multiple answer to. Right, exhibit redo E.
21. The switch is connected. Last one to connect communicate with the other.
Right, to be answer.
So host one IP address. Switch port 1, 20G first Ethernet 0/2, 0/2 in the whole back, 0/11. Most IP addresses 20, 30, 40, 20, VLAN 20, VLAN 20. So that's host 1. That's 220. Yeah.
On
So
it.
my IP address up.
How does it?
Akanyipwa my IP address.
Take us through that one.
Kufungidzira sei. But tikatarisa panzi switch 1 VLAN ports, right? VLAN 20, which is first Ethernet 0/2 to first Ethernet 0/10, right? It's in VLAN 20.
Yeah.
Of which that's so that's host 1.
20.
Okay. So host 1 inofanira 172.18.1.10/27. But apa yakapiwa 1.20. Right? And then we come to VLAN 30. VLAN 30, which is first Ethernet 0/11 to 0/18, which is by host 2 up.
Yeah, I think my address are here. So we are saying host 1 is rim VLAN 20 and IP address yayo nde-ish, meaning network yayo inofanira kubelonga, inofanira kunge iri associated to this as well. Panapa patiri kuzonaisa kuita VLAN redu, VLAN interface associated ne-VLAN 20 rine address ina .20. That's where the problem is. All right, it makes sense. It makes sense. So answer the above. Interface is missing IP address configuration. Interface 00, no. IP address on the sub interface are incorrect. Yeah, this one. Answer B. Answer B. IP addresses on sub interfaces are not matching the VLANs. One day, refer to another exhibit. Many time, I think time ikango pera nchaiona time yangu munongologa into one more session. Hopefully we finish another exhibit. Yeah, I wasn't expecting my exhibit. I thought that data, but hey.
But it's actually good, say, because my exhibit ndo ari kutotiuraya acho.
Ndo ari kupisa.
Yeah, ndo ari kupisa.
Right, router on a stick configuration implemented for VLANs 15, 13, 45, according to Shoran. PCs on VLAN 45 are using .450 network, are having trouble connecting to PCs on VLAN 30. So 45 to 30 hapana communication now. Which error is most likely causing this? 45 to 30 no problem. What's the problem? Makangotarisa Shoran. Ndatoona hapo
Pa PC
hapo
pa VLAN 30 apo.
address here iri incorrect here.
Yeah, yakaiswa .3 instead of .30.
Wait, yes, .3. So answer yedu panapa wrong VLAN has been configured. The Giga Ethernet 00 interface is missing IP address, incorrect IP address on answer D. Giga Ethernet 00.30. Right, what is the characteristic of a routed port on a layer 3 switch? Routed port on a layer 3 switch. It supports trunking.